So if it wasn't obvious enough already, this year's video is going to be pretty different from the previous. Instead of just going over my top 10 albums of the year and then 5 honorable mentions, I'm going to be doing a bunch of different categories. Almost all of them are 5 things each. And you get to see my face this time. So here we go. So starting off for 2020, I'm going to go over my favorite singles that were released during the year. Starting with Vola's Head Mounted Sideways. This came later in the year and was a surprise I was kind of anticipating because they had announced that they were in the studio a couple months earlier working on their next album. And I was very excited because Vola's last album, Applause of a Distant Crowd, was fantastic. Made it onto my list last year, or maybe it was the year before. It's kind of a little bit of a return to their previous album, Animus. It's got a much heavier feel in certain parts of the song. They kind of went back to their older style, mixed with the new style, and I think that's like a really perfect balance for a band like Vola. I'm really looking forward to what they come out with next. So, Vola's Head Mounted Sideways at number 5 for my favorite singles of the year. Next we have Fleshgod Apocalypse's No. These guys have been really busy towards the end of 2020, and I really am enjoying what they've been doing. They've been doing a lot more social media work, and then they came out with this No song, and it's one of the best songs they've made in my opinion. It's just like, it's really varied, so much passion and energy in it, and then of course they're having Veronica, the female vocalist in the band, sing a lot more often, and she's got a funny little part in this song. I won't spoil it, you should go listen to it, but No from Fleshgod Apocalypse, which came out really late in December. Next is Monuments' Animus. This is the first song Monuments put out after getting their new vocalist, Andy Sizek, which actually I was a fan of before he joined the band, so I was super excited to find out that he was replacing the previous vocalist. The song was fantastic, perfectly suited to Andy's voice, so I feel like he probably had a hand in writing it. When the song starts, it just hits you right away, and you're like, whoa, okay, I'm in for something. And then the chorus is just like, you can totally sing along to it. It's a very catchy song, but still groovy as ever, as Monuments is known for. This is a fantastic single from all the way back in January of 2020. Shrezzers' Phoenix single. Similar situation as the Monument single. They got a new vocalist. They found the perfect replacement for Sam Arag, the previous vocalist. This guy is fantastic, and the Phoenix single is really, really great. It's got a fun video. You know, it's got the jamming parts that, you know, make you want to head bob with the growls or yelling, and then the normal verses and chorus are just like very sing-songy, and I really like that about the band. I thought this debut for the vocalist was absolutely perfect. One of my favorite singles of the year. And finally, my number 1 single of 2020. I listened to this song constantly after I found out about it. I believe it's won some awards for like Song of the Year, and that would be Holy Roller from Spiritbox. Man, it came out right in the middle of the summer, you know, hit really hard in the metal community. Everybody loved it. There's tons of like reaction videos for it on YouTube. This is the song that introduced a lot of people to the band. Now, I had found out about them a little earlier, and then later on they actually redid the song with a guest vocal part where the vocalist from Crystal Lake, Ryo Kinoshita, I believe his name is. It just made the song even better somehow. Fantastic song. It's my favorite single of 2020. Go listen to it. Holy Roller from Spiritbox. Alright, the next category is going to be my favorite music videos of the year. Now, this category is also going to be based on the song used, obviously, but the video, the creativity of it, how much I enjoyed it, is mainly what I'm judging here. And here's my top 5. At number 5, we've got Buried Alive's Hugo video. This was kind of surprising. I'm a big fan of this band, if you've watched my previous videos, where the band is just one guy and his wife. They kind of put out a more serious video for once. It's not like a guitar playthrough kind of video. It was like directed and filmed, and it has a story, and I really liked it. It was very surprising, a very relatable kind of story, kind of heartwarming and sad, but hopeful at the same time. It was just a very different style for this artist to approach, and I thought it came out really, really nicely. Very unexpected. At number 4, we've got Noodles from Shrezzers. This is the last song that the band put out with their original vocalist. And it's basically an on-tour video where they filmed it while they were touring Japan, you know, messing around here and there, and filming them playing guitar in the middle of Tokyo and stuff like that. It's just kind of a fun travel vlog style video, embracing all the culture that they got to experience, and it's just really neat. Good video and great song. Alright, at number 3 we've got Run from Joji. This video is very artistic, as he usually is. He's just going through the world's longest limo, but there's a lot more than that. It's very interesting, and I love the song. Out of the box thinking from that guy. He's an artist through and through, everything he does. Yeah, I don't know how else to describe it, except it's just a work of art. It's trippy and funny at points, but obviously his character in the video is like going through a struggle. Very interesting, and you kind of just have to see it to understand what's going on. At number 2, we've got the most bizarre thing I've seen in a long time, but that's very appropriate for this band. The band is Igorrr, and the song is Very Noise. I think this video might have gone like semi-viral, like passed around and made memes from it and stuff like that, because it's all animated, and it's just like this really weirdly shaped bunch of figures doing random things. There's like a guy on a motorcycle who's constantly doing a wheelie, and it's just very odd and hilarious. And the song's good, but it's also like very like it starts and stops at seemingly random points. The song itself is hard to follow, but it's just so hectic, like the most of their music. And the video matches it pretty perfectly, even though the video is like about nothing. These weird characters that they just show for like a couple frames in the video. It's like, what the heck was that? You know, you have to go back and watch and pause a couple times to like, what was I even looking at? You know, it's a very interesting video, fun song, great stuff. And my number 1 video for the year, matching up with the previous list I just said, would be Spiritbox's Constance video. This was released later in the year, and boy, was it emotional. It's a really sad video, sad song, beautiful song. You know, it was wonderfully directed video. This is another one where it was passed around for everybody to do reactions to on YouTube. It's almost hard to watch the video without crying. It's basically about Alzheimer's, if I understood it correctly, and how it affects people and their family. And it's really sad. It's shot like almost like a movie. No crazy effects. It's just like it's here to tell a story, similar to the first one, the Buried Alive one. So Spiritbox's Constance. If you want something to tug at your heartstrings, go watch that video. Alright, so the next section is going to be bands I discovered this year. Not necessarily bands that came out this year, like that had their debut, but bands that I found out about and got into this year. And I've got 5 of those as well. So the first one, I'm going to say Make Them Suffer from Australia. This band has been around for a long time, and I've seen them recommended to me on, you know, the various places I listen to music or watch videos. And I was always like, oh, this is another one of those like metalcore but not really bands, where it's going to be whiny and I'm not going to be into it. But then I gave them a chance when I saw that their video for the song Ether was kind of blowing up. And when I heard that, I was like, oh, this is different. This is like a lot of atmosphere and breathing room within a heavy metal song. There's just like this guitar riff in the background of that video, of that song. And it just hooked me instantly. And then they came out with another single called 27, and I played that song over and over and over. That song really got me like, okay, I need to listen to this band's discography. And now they've really climbed my list of favorite bands. If you're looking for something where it's, you know, very energetic, passionate, with a little bit of keyboards and a nice female vocal in the background, kind of like hugging everything together, making the choruses very dramatic and melodic, then this is a band you should definitely check out. Mentioning them for the 3rd time on this list is Spiritbox. I just found out about this band this year through a friend of mine. The vocalist and guitarist used to be in a band called I Wrestled a Bear Once, which is kind of funny. And I had listened to that band a few times and didn't like it, and Even going back recently, you know, listening to what people told me to, like to see what they were like before they became Spiritbox. It's not really my thing, but Spiritbox is a whole new project from the husband and wife couple that were from I Wrestled the Bear once. And they're from Canada, and they're incredible. I think they've made it into my top 10 bands right now, because I haven't heard a song that's bad. The vocals are fantastic. The guitar playing is very unique and creative, but also keeping to a lot of patterns that are like, you know, the archetype at this point. It's just something that feeds my need for creativity, but within a certain genre. It's like, oh, I want more of this, but different at the same time. That's what Spiritbox is. It brings a fresh look on classic style. Okay, next we've got Moksh, also known as Moksh The Band, because they can get confused. And they're from India. I've been getting into a lot of Indian metal, Carnatic metal, even some like Egyptian style stuff. When I first heard them, I was like, oh, I get what they're trying to do, but it sounds so artificial. But I guess I've heard it enough times now where I'm like, okay, that's just their sound. They've only released one album, by the way, and it's been a few years already, so I don't know if the band still really exists, but we'll see. They've got some cool videos, and since it's an Indian band, this one really dives into that and keeps it the whole Carnatic theme, where the vocals are total, you know, vibrato everywhere, and it's all in their language. It's just really beautiful, but also it's rock and metal. If you want to hear something that you've probably never heard before, go ahead and check out Moksh. Next is Alien Weaponry. This band's been around for a long time, and I saw people talking about them here and there. Apparently the members of the band were like really young when they first started, and they got really popular because they sing in a native language spoken on New Zealand, which is where they're from, by these tribes that are native to that land. And they've got like, they sing about like tribes' practices and war and the whole culture of it, but then they also do like some political type stuff or social commentary type stuff, which is really cool. And of course the music itself is very like punk and metal mixed. The guys' vocals they remind me of like early 2000s kind of stuff, where it's like mostly yelling, singing kind of deal. So upon first listen you might be like, this is kind of odd, but after a while it's like, oh, I get what they're trying to do, and they're blending these styles really well, and you can just tell that these guys are they're very passionate about what they do. So Alien Weaponry from New Zealand. And finally, for another band I discovered this year would be Leprous. This is a band I was actually told to listen to a bunch of times and never got around to. They are from Norway. This is a band that got really popular from people doing reactions to the vocalist. The vocalist has a very unique style and a broad range. Really cool stuff. I haven't listened to them much though, so I don't have a whole lot to say about the rest of their discography. The band's got a lot of potential, in my opinion. It's very emotional stuff. It's not necessarily heavy. It's like they want to convey emotion, and even though they're a metal band, they know how to slow down and really embrace different uses of dynamics, or, you know, just pauses in the music that makes sure you're in a certain mood by the time the next part of the song comes. It's like they get you ready for what's next. And then suddenly they'll take you by surprise with the chorus, and the vocalists will just soar to this really high note, you know, yelling at the sky kind of deal. And it's very nice. And I should listen to them more, because I've only heard like 3 or 4 songs. Okay, so this next section is one I've kind of been wanting to do in previous years, but I didn't bother. This time I'm going to do it though. The biggest disappointments of 2020. These are albums that when I heard them, it was a big, big letdown. One of my favorite bands, Powerman 5000's The Noble Rot. This was terrible. If you've been a fan of the band for a long time, you've seen how they've evolved, and now it's at the point where it's like techno punk, but it's like it's so removed from everything else. It's like they completely changed, and the creativity is out the window. The lyrics are no good. It's just really repetitive, boring, not fun. There's not a single song I liked on the new album. It was really, really bad. I don't know what the deal is. I guess they're trying to broaden their audience. I've been a fan of them since like 2001. This is not it, Powerman. What are you doing? Next is an artist that's relatively new to me in the past couple years. It's Melrose, and her album Unconditional was her first full-length album she released, I believe. And I don't know what happened. It's a very different style. It's not as energetic, not as powerful and like striking music, and it feels less creative. It's like she made something that was for people who are not fans of her previous stuff. Like she went poppy, less into the hard rock heavy metal genre, and it was just like really disappointing. Not as bad as the Powerman album, but this was a big letdown. I'm still a fan of her though, just like Powerman. I'm still a fan of them, and I look forward to seeing what she does with the new Mechana album, which is the band she used to feature in a lot, which I'm pretty sure she's just a full-time member of now. I hope she impresses with more of her originals, because I really liked what she already had. Alright, so this last one is the Ocean's Phanerozoic 2 album. Now, some people might get upset about this because people really loved this album, but compared to their, like the Phanerozoic Part 1, it was a big letdown. They added new stuff, which I was excited for. Like, oh, I love when they add like brass and metal, like trumpets or trombones and stuff like that. I get excited about that because I like, eclectic genres like that, genre blending. But the way they did it here, it was just boring. A couple really long songs where it's just like, all right, get on with it. When's it gonna like hit you? Because their songs can have that very mellowness and a drawn out verse. But then when the chorus comes, it's like, oh, it was so much build up. I finally got that satisfaction where it finally came in and, grabbed my interest, and I got excited for the song again. But it just didn't happen with this album for me, and I won't say it's bad, because that's not true. They've made all good stuff, and this is still a good album. It's just not for me. I totally respect them and what they wanted to do, but it's just not something I'm going to listen to. I look forward to what they release next. Now we're getting into my top albums of the year. I'm going to go over 5 honorable mentions now. Starting at number 5, it would be Master Boot Records' Floppy Disk Overdrive. Just another great album from this Italian guy that just pumps out music constantly. He just did an entire soundtrack for a video game, EPs and albums like twice a year. It's just constant music, and then you can watch his live streams of when he's making it. Very interactive with his community. There's just endless ideas in this guy's head, and it shows. The one reason why I don't have this album in my top albums of the year is because it's kind of more of the same. It's a bit repetitive at this point. It's all good stuff, but it's just like, whether I listen to this album or this album, I'm getting the same deal. And I think that's a product of him releasing music so often, is that like you really have to go 3 albums in the past to see like a difference in his writing style or creativity. Master Boot Records' Floppy Disk Overdrive. This next one is an album I really haven't listened to very much. Whenever I sneak a song in from it, it's like, whoa. It's beyond expectation, and that would be Vulta's second album, Swarm. Video game music times 2. It's just super massive with like obviously like kind of metal influences, but every song feels like it's a boss fight in a video game. Like you're in this most intense thing, and it's just like, we're gonna do it. It's powerful music to fantasize while listening to. It's really fun. I imagine like younger people would really like this Belgian artist. At number 3 for my honorable mentions would be Assemble the Chariots' The Celestials. This is a very short album. It's only 3 songs, but it's really more of what they do best, which is the big atmospheric choruses, which like they do like chorus then verse. It's like they reverse the order in the songs a bit for most of their stuff, and it's it's slamming fast metal, but in such a wide soundscape. Beautiful, because the vocalist will be like screaming, but in the background you'll hear him singing like just this big wide open note, and it's just very immersive music. At number 2 for the honorable mentions would be Arch Echo's Story 1. This is a bit of an EP, only 4 songs. It's just more good stuff. These guys don't make a bad song. They're all complete virtuosos on their instruments. It's progressive hard rock, and it is fantastic. It's music that makes you smile because it's so fun, and you want to You almost want to like dance to it, and their music videos are always really fun, and it's just like really creative, progressive stuff. If you're a fan of bands like Dream Theater, then you're gonna really enjoy this. The younger guys are doing it right. And finally, for the honorable mentions, I have John Petrucci's Terminal Velocity, which is like, wow. It has been so long since he released his first solo album. As I just mentioned, Dream Theater, the guitarist for Dream Theater, John Petrucci, had put out Suspended Animation a long time ago. I believe it was like 2005, I'm not sure. I guess because of the coronavirus quarantine or something, he got back with the old drummer for Dream Theater, Mike Portnoy, and a couple other guys, and decided it was finally time to make another solo album. And it turned out fantastic. Better than Dream Theater's last album, that's for sure. It was just like so welcoming. It was like, you know, it was like your favorite band reunited, basically. For a lot of the fans, it was so much fun. The songs like the Happy song or the self-titled song, the super stylistic, creative stuff that John has done all these years, and was definitely shown on his first album. It's what the fans have been waiting for a very long time, and I appreciate it a lot. All right, finally, my top 5 albums of 2020. At number 5, we've got Nectar from Joji. Now, I really like bits of his stuff. I'm like picky with songs, but the songs I really like. Some people don't like his stuff because it gets too mellow, or like the songs kind of sound similar, where they're like, oh, he's just trying to make you upset every song, or make you cry every song. But I really liked this Nectar album. He gave the fans what they wanted, but he also experimented a little bit. Some people say it was too predictable, but I was welcoming more of like kind of a similar style. I'm sure he'll evolve a bit with his next release, but this was really fantastic. A whole bunch of really creative music videos came with it. You can tell that this guy is just like a full-on artist. He has a vision and makes it come to life, and fans like me, I really appreciate it. I bought it as soon as I heard like 2 songs. So, Joji's Nectar. At number 4, we have Make Them Suffer's How to Survive a Funeral. Ever since discovering this band, I was basically waiting for this release. I was listening to the singles that were coming out over and over. Really excited about this, and it met all the expectations. It's a great album full of passionate songs with aggressive and light vocals. It's what metalcore is today. You know, it's the evolution of bands like Killswitch Engage or maybe Avenged Sevenfold. All That Remains. It's that, but like what I feel a more modern, younger take is. This album makes you want to yell along with the lyrics and just like be either upset or angry, as the vocalist is when he's writing about these subjects, as musicians are like just playing their heart out. You can just imagine like the whole band just being so into the music and just driving it along. Make Them Suffer's How to Survive a Funeral. If you've been a fan of the band for a while, you are not going to be disappointed. At number 3, we have Perspectives, All We Have. These Italian guys, they can't make a bad song. This band, I've been with them since they released their very first EP, and they've just gotten better and better. One thing about this album is that the vocalist decided to change his growling, yelling style a bit. That's something I'm actually still getting used to. I'm not sure whether I like it as much as how he used to do it, but maybe he did that to have less of an impact on his voice, you know, not strain himself so much. But it's still really good. And then also the guitarist that did a bunch of clean singing on the previous albums has like a much bigger part in this one. There's a lot of clean vocals from the guitarist. It makes everything, you know, just as emotional as ever. Every song is like, it's pretty similar to Make Them Suffer, in which every song is something that's supposed to make you feel a certain way. Just like the musicians getting thoughts out of their heads and, you know, explaining situations they might have been in. You know, they've got songs like Liar and Dust and Memories. Obviously a sad story, or, you know, being angry based on their past experiences. Music is such an outlet for how you feel. At number 2, my second favorite album of 2020 is the self-titled Sordid Pink album. Yes, Destiny Potato is back, but they're not Destiny Potato anymore. Now they're Sordid Pink. It's still David Matson-Michik and Alexandra Jelmers. However, if you were a fan of when they were Destiny Potato, you might be a little underwhelmed at this Sordid Pink stuff, because I think it's kind of obvious that the vocalist did more of the songwriting this time around, and it's definitely poppier, more lighthearted, not so many heavy sections, not very many growls at all, which when they were showing teasers of the album and like previews of the songs, I thought there was going to be a lot more of the vocalist trying to do that aggressive distorted vocal, but it didn't really happen like that. Either way, I think the production is fantastic and the songs are emotional and fun, and it's definitely an album that I'll play start to finish every time, because every song is like I want to sing along with the whole thing. If you like some light-hearted metal or rock, don't mind a poppier vocal. Like it's like what Paramore used to be, but better, because the new Paramore is not good in my opinion. It's just like a nice light poppy vocal over some really groovy and heavy guitar riffs, and that's what they're really good at, these Serbian people. And my number one album of 2020 is Buried Alive's Fuego. I believe this is the second time they've won my album of the year. I mean, what can I say? The guitar playing just gets more and more incredibly intense and technical, more creative, using different sounds. You know, this guy's figured out everything he can do with a whammy bar, basically, or octave effects, more vocals, you know, even like hip-hop style on top of them, angry and writhing most of the time. It gets you so energized, like, yeah, I want to listen to this. And it's like, it's very inspiring too, taking a few ideas from different styles and trying to incorporate them into like the heaviest of heavy metal produces such a unique outcome that you don't really get many other places. Super technical guitar playing at impossible speeds, and lots of electronic effects layered in. So if you're a fan of like maybe heavier dubstep, you might like some Buried Alive songs. And this album is just an example of like what people should be thinking of when they think like technical metal and gent. These albums by Berried Alive do get spoiled for you a bit, since he releases almost the entire track list as singles throughout the year, and then he compiles them and adds like 3 or 4 extra songs, and then that's the album. So you really know what you're in for by the time the album comes out. Also, a lot of times the singles will have been instrumentals, and then when the album comes out, they've got vocals on them. So it's like a bonus. If you're satisfied the individual releases, then you're gonna really love the album. And that's exactly what happened with Fuego. Buried Alive, you've done it again. Great job, Charles and Kaylee. That would be my top 5 albums of 2020. And that wraps up the video. So thank you so much for watching. And next year will probably be a similar format to this. I'll make adjustments as I see fit. Thanks.